Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, good morning. So we are discussing today, or relishing today, beautiful, wonderful Krishna. I'm going to stop my video because it's going to be a presentation. So for those of you who don't understand English, there is a 10-cent connection created by Shamalila, which would be with the simultaneous translation. So please of you, if you don't understand English, please connect with 10-cent.
大家如果需要听中文的话，可以到腾讯会议。腾讯会议我们有同步的中文的翻译。在 Zoom 的话，阿树直接是讲的英文。
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasata Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyacha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So we are eternally indebted to our most beloved Srila Prabhupada for engaging us in Krishna's loving devotional service, particularly in his most beautiful, most attractive form as Govinda Krishna in Vrindavan. As we're gonna hear through these descriptions, these comments and translations of verses and comments of Srila Prabhupada and great acharyas, Krishna's feature is very unique. A reason why we entitled this presentation Wonderful Krishna. Because Krishna is really wonderful, and Srila Prabhupada came to give us this wonderful Krishna. So today we are particularly enjoying hearing the pastime of Govardhana Lila. I'm not going to narrate the whole pastime of Govardhana Lila. I expect that you will read either from Krishna book or from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10 canto. All the descriptions, all the stories, they are narrated with great detail by Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book particularly. It's very detailed. But we're going to explain, we're going to mention about something related with Govardhana Lila. What this pastime created in the hearts of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. It's very, 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 very interesting and very significant for us. So we are going to explain a few things before in order to understand better this wonderful pastime of Krishna and all the best wonderful pastimes of Krishna and Krishna's nature, Krishna's beauty, Krishna's activities. There are different schools of bhakti, and they present their concept of devotion. All those schools of bhakti, they all propose that there is one Supreme Lord and is named by Vishnu, Krishna, Narayana, and so many other names. They all agree with this, and they all agree that the ultimate of life is to attain an intimate relationship with that supreme person, and that's through the process of bhakti. So the process of bhakti is not just a method a process to free us from this material existence, but most important, to connect ourselves with Krishna. So it's a common understanding in all our sampradayas, 4 sampradayas. Different bhakti schools, they may stress devotion to Lord Rama or devotion to Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayana, Lord Narayana, Lord Vishnu, so many different aspects of the Lord. But ultimately, they don't single out Krishna as the supreme object of devotion. They often see Krishna as an incarnation or an expansion of the original Supreme Lord, who is Narayana, or Mahavishnu, or Ramachandra, whoever they stress their worship. In our, excuse me, our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is special in this regard because we understand Srimad Bhagavatam through a very particular statement on the first chapter, on the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto, where Krishna says on the 28th verse, he says, Ete cham sakala pumsa Krishna stu bhagavam svayam indrari vyakulam lokam ridayanti yuge yuge. He's saying all these portions and plenary portions of the Purusha that were mentioned before. This is Sutta Goswami speaking. He had mentioned all the different incarnations of the Lord, beginning with the Purusha, the 3 Purushas, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Ksharadakshaya Vishnu. Then Krishna, and then in the end of describing some of the incarnations of the Lord, it comes to this conclusion. So these are all portions or plenary portions of the Purusha, but Krishna stu Bhagavan Svayam, but Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. So the right interpretation of this verse is practically only known in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. In all other manifestations of the Lord, including Lord Narayana, including Mahavishnu, or Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, laying down on Ananta Shesha, they are all parts and parcels of Krishna. Garbhodakashaya Vishnu laying the Ananta Shesha. There are either parts of the Lord or parts and parcels of the Lord. They are not the full manifestation of the Lord. The full manifestation of the Lord is Krishna. And why Krishna is the fullest manifestation of the Lord, we may ask. Why Krishna? Because according to our Sampradaya, Krishna manifests Aishwarya, means his opulence, his majesty, to the fullest possible extent. But also he manifests its madhurya, its sweetness. And oftentimes this sweetness totally covers this is Aishwarya. And this is very much related to the pastime that we are celebrating today. No other manifestation of the Lord No other expansion or avatar of the Lord manifest both aspects of Aishvarya and Madhurya. Get acquainted with these two words. Aishvarya means manifestation of his opulence, his majesty, and Madhurya means manifestation of his sweetness, his intimacy. So I'm going to, every time I speak Aishvarya and Madhurya, you should understand with these two concepts. So Aishvarya and Madhurya together are only possible on Krishna. Any other manifestations of the Lord is practically only Aishvarya that is manifested. So our original connection is with Krishna. We are not actually connected with Lord Narayana. We are certainly not connected by Vishnu or any other manifestation of Vishnu within the material universe. The three manifestations of Vishnu, like Karanadakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, they are different paramatmas. They are features of the Lord in the material world. So the Lord accepts these avatars, these three paramatma features, to maintain this material world. But the jiva, the individual soul, being spiritual by nature, has nothing to do with this material world. So because we have nothing to do with this material world, we are not really intimately connected with these other features of the Lord. So this is again is very special and very unique in our sampradaya, because nowhere else you can hear these things. Our ultimate connection is with the complete manifestation of the Lord, which is Krishna himself. And this is not our opinion. It's not the opinion of the Vaishnavas of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. This is according to Srimad Bhagavatam, according to the main speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami, and the secondary speaker, Sutta Goswami, not according to our conception. So from the Srimad Bhagavatam, we learn about this concepts of Yogamaya, Madhurya, Aishvarya. These are very, very prominent. And this concept of Yogamaya also is very unique to our sampradaya. Other sampradayas, they don't speak about Yogamaya as opposed to Maya or the avidya shakti, the ignorance energy of the Lord. They talk about Maya, but not the special feature of Maya, not this very special feature of Maya as Yogamaya. It's very interesting because all of a sudden in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 7, verse 25, I forgot to read in the verse, Krishna speaks about Yogamaya. Naham prakasha sarvasya Yogamaya samavrita. Krishna is saying, I am never manifest to the foolish, Mamaya, Yogamaya. Krishna says, I am not manifest to the foolish and intelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency. I am covered. So this is a Chinese translation, so it can facilitate you. You can read from the translation on the screen. Different acharyas explain why Krishna calls his illusory energy as Maya Yoga Maya. And Many different explanations are there, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that there is a significance why Krishna calls his internal energy Yogamaya. If you talk just about the covering of our consciousness, in our material conditioning that makes you forget Krishna, that is the feature of Mahamaya. It's a manifestation of Yogamaya for the material world. But Yogamaya is a very special energy of the Lord, which brings about a very close connection between us individual souls and the Lord. The Lord is so great. Here we see even great demigods cannot approach Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, which is a remote expansion of the Lord, incarnation of the Lord. What to speak of us is significant jivas. The Lord is great. In Sanskrit, it's called Vibhu, the greatest. And we are very, very tiny, Anu. Krishna is unlimited, and we are infinitesimal. So how can an insignificant feature of the Lord be intimately connected with his greatest features? Because we are parts and parcels of Krishna. But how can we, insignificant, tiny, little souls, can be intimately connected with the great feature of the Lord in his opulence, in his majesty? You see, if somebody, even in this material world, if somebody is very powerful, it is very difficult to come close to such a person. We feel nervous. We may feel even afraid. We may feel even trembling in the presence of a very powerful person. It's very difficult to relate intimately with somebody who is great. It's a fact, because we only see his greatness, his opulence, his majesty. So the main disadvantage of Krishna is that he is so great. And because he's so great, he cannot be really treated with intimacy. He's so great. But Krishna is always longing for enjoyment. And enjoyment can only manifest when there is intimacy. Even in this material world, enjoyment does not come from our formal dealings with others. It comes from intimacy. If they have formalities, then the connection is dry. It doesn't really bring joy to us. Joy comes when we sit together, we eat together, we embrace together each other, we joke together. This is what makes an intimating dealings between two persons, intimacy. But Krishna's energy, Yogamaya, can make the impossible possible. And that's the definition of Krishna's energy. It facilitates the intimacy between the unlimited, the great, incredible Supreme Lord, and a very, very tiny living entity. That is Yogamaya. Yogamaya, it's Maya. It's an illusion. Because in one sense, Krishna never loses his greatness. But the Yogamaya is even greater than God. God is the greatest. The Supreme Lord is the greatest. But according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conception, Yogamaya is even greater than the Lord, because Yogamaya can cover the knowledge of the Lord about his greatness, can make the Lord forget his greatness, and can facilitate the intimate connection between with a very tiny individual souls. So in order to cover somebody, Yoga Maya, that potency has to be greater than the person you are covering. So that's why, according to our Sampradaya, the energy of the Lord is greater than the Lord. But we should not think that it diminish. You should not think that it diminish Krishna's greatness, because it's his energy. And he agrees, he voluntarily agrees to be covered by his energy. So in this way, if his majesty, his opulence, his Aishwarya aspect is covered, then sweetness, sweet intimacy is possible. This is very important. And nowhere else we find this analysis of Yoga Maya, how it covers the consciousness of the Supreme Lord, is understanding that is the Supreme Lord, and covers the consciousness of the living entities and gives this knowledge, gives them this knowledge that they are intimately connected with the Supreme Lord. So to develop intimate loving connection to the Lord, we need, first of all, we need to develop a very, very important feature, which is called mamata in Sanskrit. Means, like we would say in English, mine-ness. Krishna is mine. I am is. This is the definition of prema, the most intimate loving relationship. Prema or love of Krishna only happens when we have this possessiveness of the Supreme Lord in our minds. He belongs to me. I belong to him. Unless we develop this feeling, Krishna belongs to me, or at least I belong to him, then there is no question of love. We see our ultimate goal of life is prema pumartha maham, is to experience prema, experience love for Krishna. This is the goal of all our endeavors, the goal of all our practice, is to develop Krishna prema. And this is only possible if we develop this mamata, this possessiveness. Krishna is mine, I am Krishna's. So in order to develop that, we hear so often, Srila Prabhupada said, we have to follow in the footsteps of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Means we have to develop the same mood as the inhabitants of the Vrindavan. So we are going to read a verse. This is from the 26th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this chapter is called Wonderful Krishna. It happens right after the pastime of Govardhana Lila. This verse explains the amazing sweetness of the Lord due to the influence of this Yoga Maya. And this sweetness created by Yoga Maya will not diminish in the minds of the Brajavasis, even if they know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So this experience of sweetness of the Lord covers the Lord's opulence and does not interfere, does not disturb their feelings of intimacy with the Lord. So we are meant to follow in their footsteps. So we have to, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, we should learn how to read Srimad Bhagavatam like the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So when you chant holy names, you should chant the holy names in that same mood. Otherwise, we will never experience those feelings which are there, described in Srimad Bhagavatam, which are there in a holy name. We should relate with Krishna. And in this, how we should relate with Krishna in this particular chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam 10 Canto is, it's very beautifully explained. So let's read the verse. Naham, oh sorry, not this one. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Vidani Karmani Gopa Krishnasya Vikshate Atadvirya Vida Prochu Samabhyetya Subhishmitaha. Every word in this verse or any other verses of Srimad Bhagavatam are so important. Therefore, that's why Srila Prabhupada always translates word for word for our understanding. Like here, I put in red, prochu, pra-acha, pro-acha, means very excitedly, they start speaking. They could not stop speaking. One of our previous commentators of Srimad Bhagavatam, Arisori, not so very known, he explains that the real meaning of this chapter is to teach us how to speak about Krishna without stopping, based on this word, because they were so excited, they were constantly speaking. So it is not that the Brajabasis had some doubts about Krishna, as we're going to see, if Krishna is God or not. So that's why Shukadeva Goswami uses this word prochu very excitedly, and with lots of feelings, they start speaking amongst each other. So they gather together, approaching Nanda Maharaj. Samabhyeta means approaching. They approach Nanda Maharaj. And Suvishmita, they were very, very astonished. So let's read the translation. Shukadeva Goswami said, the coward men were astonished when they saw Krishna's activities, such as lifting Govardhana hill. Unable to understand his transcendental potency, Atatvirya Vidha, they approached Nanda Maharaj and spoke as follows. I put the Chinese translation is there. You can read. But I didn't write the purport in Chinese. So Shyamalila is going to read along with me as I read in English. She's going to read in Chinese with you and saves us time. If you show in the screen, we have to wait until you finish. So the purport is going to be just in English. So, and Shyamalila will read along with me in Chinese. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this verse as follows. So this is the purport. During Lord Krishna's pastime of lifting Shri Govardhana hill, the coward men simply enjoyed the spiritual bliss of the Lord's activities without analyzing them. But afterwards, when they had returned to their homes, perplexity arose within their hearts. Thus they thought, now we have directly seen child Krishna lift Govardhana hill, and we remember how he killed Putana and the other demons, extinguished the forest fire, and so on. At the time, we thought that these extraordinary acts occurred because of a benediction from the Brahmanas, or because of Nanda Maharaj's great fortune, or that perhaps this boy had achieved the mercy of Lord Narayana and was thus empowered by him. But all these presumptions are false, because an ordinary 7-year-old boy could never hold up the king of mountains for 7 whole days. Krishna is not a human being. He must be the Supreme Lord himself. But on the other hand, child Krishna loves it when we cuddle, pamper him, Or he becomes morose when we, his uncles and well-wishers, simply worldly cowardmen, do not give him attention. He appears to become hungry and thirsty and steals yogurt and milk, sometimes plays tricks, tells lies, chatters childish, and tends the calves. If he's actually the Supreme Lord, why would he do these things? Don't they indicate that he's not an ordinary human child? We are totally unable to establish the truth of his identity. Therefore, let us go and inquire from the highly intelligent King of Braja, Nanda Maharaj, and he shall free us from our doubts. So according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the coward men thus made up their minds, and then they enter Nanda Maharaj's great assembly hall and question him as described in the following verse. We are not going to read the following verse. So the most amazing feature of Yoga Maya is that there is a meeting between Krishna and inhabitant. Oh, sorry, I jump here. So this is the very beautiful verse, an even more beautiful explanation given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The most amazing feature of Yoga Maya is then when there is a meeting of Christian inhabitants of Vrindavan, they directly see Krishna. They are so much enamored by his beauty and his sweetness that even a shadow of thought that he is the Supreme Lord does not come to their mind. He is mine, is my son, is my friend, is my master, is my beloved, is my Krishna, is ours. They don't want to think that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. They have so much love for him. His beauty is so powerful that they cannot think about anything else. They only want to drink Krishna's beauty. And his beauty is said is so intoxicating. The fact of his beauty completely bewilders them. They said that Krishna's beauty is the most powerful drug. Like many people take drugs in the material world, in order to experience some illusory happiness. But actually the most powerful drug is Krishna's beauty. People take powerful drugs in the material world, they become total ruined in their lives. In the same way, if we taste a little fraction of Krishna's sweetness, Krishna's beauty, then our material life is totally finished. We cannot anymore function like a normal member in this material society. Impossible. We may pretend to be in this society, but our addiction to Krishna's beauty is inside our hearts and makes us long for the association of Krishna, to taste his sweetness. So due to the Krishna's beauty, Krishna's sweetness, during 7 days and 7 nights, they forgot they had to drink, they had to sleep. They were just under Govardhana Hill. Krishna was holding Govardhana Hill. So, as you remember, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they were about to perform their annual Indra Puja, a ceremony where they would do some offerings of food and artik, and Brahmins would chant mantras to satisfy Lord Indra, the king of the demigods. Why? Because Indra is the one who pours rain is in charge of the clouds to pour rain on the earth. And the coward men, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they are dependent on rain, because rain, all their agriculture produce grows, and grass for the cows grows, so the cows can survive and can give nice milk. And their livelihood is cows and the land. So they are totally dependent on the rain. And there is always a good amount of rain. So every year they offer their gratitude, their appreciation by performing this Indra Puja. But at that time, Krishna was 8 years old. And Krishna decided that it was time to finish this. And he wanted also to curb a little bit, very much, the pride of Indra. Indra was getting too used to this worship. And Krishna wanted to show that to inhabitants of Vrindavan that they don't need to worship the demigods, because there is their devotees, and all the demigods should be very pleased with that and give everything they need, because they are Krishna's devotees. So Krishna in the beginning spoke a very interesting philosophy called Karma Mimamsa. And in that philosophy, Krishna explained that we are not obliged to Indra. Indra is a demigod that is obliged to give us rain, because it's as a result of our good karma. Because we all perform good karma, we have good pious credits. So Indra and all the demigods, they are obliged to supply. Because if there is no good karma, then they don't supply. They are affected by karma as we are affected by karma. So karma is the ruler. It's because of good karma we do pious activities, and the demigods, because of our pious activities, they have to fulfill our desires. This is automatical. So this is a philosophy of karma mimamsa. Of course, Krishna is interpreting, is using this philosophy, which is a wrong philosophy, because it excludes the existence of a supreme ruler, a person who established the rules, established the law of karma. And it rules out the person who gives the results, the good results, or punishes if the karma is bad. So karma is a law, but the lawmaker and the ones who implement the law have to be there also. And moreover, Krishna, as the creator of the law of karma, he can withdraw the influence of karma in his devotees' lives if the devotees surrender to him. So the effect of karma can be nullified by Krishna. So, of course, Krishna did not mention that, just mention about karma. And the inhabitants of Vrindavan kind of a little doubtful, but Krishna was speaking with so much authority at that time, even though he was a small child. They kind of were agreeing with, following Krishna, because inhabitants of Vrindavan are very simple-hearted people. They are not interested in discussing philosophy, so it made good sense to them. And Krishna said, but look, we have Govardhan Hill here. Because of Govardhan Hill, we have everything. We have nice grass for the cows. We have minerals. We have precious stones, gold. We have very fresh, clean water, mineral water. We have so many flowers, so many trees, so many, everything. Govardhan is giving us everything. Everything practically we need, we can take from Govardhan Hill. So let's show our gratitude to Govardhan Hill instead. Let's worship Govardhan Hill. So Nanda Maharaj kind of agreed and said, well, we're going to do that, but we can do that. But before, let's worship Indra. And Krishna said, no, don't waste time and paraphernalia, you know, whatever you already have prepared, let's use to worship Govardhan. So, as you know, and if you don't know, you please read the Krishna book. Krishna induced the inhabitants of Vrindavan to perform this Govardhana Puja, and they offered amounts, incredible amounts of food. They brought from all the village, from everywhere. And the Govardhan hill was eating everything, but was never satisfied until they exhausted all their goods. They could not, they have nothing else to offer. And Krishna said, just offer him a tulasi leaf. And they offered tulasi leaf, and Govardhan was very satisfied. So Govardhan ate the food because Govardhan, at that time, Krishna manifested a gigantic form of himself on the top of Govardhan. They were not seeing Krishna, they were just seeing this huge form. And they said, I am Govardhan. And everybody was so amazed. I'm the personification of Govardhan. So they saw Govardhan no different from Krishna at that time, even though they didn't came to that conclusion. And then they circumambulate Govardhan, and there was a big festival, you know, going around Govardhan. We still do this in Govardhan, you know, around Govardhan is one of the most beautiful festivals. And the festival was incredible, joyful and amazing, and everybody was so satisfied, but except for one person, that was Indra, the demigod of the rain. He became very furious because the inhabitants of Vrindavan that year did not offer him the annual puja. So he felt very infatuated. How can they do that? And it's all because of that talkative young boy. They believed in him and they stopped the Indra Puja in order to perform this Govardhana Puja. I'm going to give them a lesson. So he decided to send the most terrifying clouds that are used usually only at the time of devastation. He wanted to inundate the whole Vrindavan, finish with everything. So you can see how his pride brought to his fall, and he totally lost it. He totally lost his mind, and he behaved in a very foolish way, very crazy way. He wanted to eliminate the inhabitants of Vrindavan with torrent rains and tornadoes and thunderbolts and everything. And when this started happening, and inhabitants of Vrindavan, they were very afraid. They did not know where to take shelter. Krishna did the miracle of holding Govardhana hill with the little finger of his left hand, stopped on the top of a rock and held it very securely, the whole Govardhana hill on the top, making like a huge umbrella. And he told all the inhabitants of Vrindavan to come under Govardhana hill for shelter. So this is what we hear in the pastime. And the rain was pouring outside, but under Govardhana hill, they were totally safe. They were not even feeling cold. They were not feeling any inconvenience. And more importantly, they were there for 7 days and 7 nights, the time Krishna held Govardhana hill until Indra came to his senses and stopped his stupid action, his terrible action of trying to inundate Vrindavan. So Krishna, after 7 days, he allowed them to go out because everything was dry already. But for 7 days and 7 nights, we don't hear any description in Srimad Bhagavatam saying that they were camping there and they brought their cooking utensils and they were cooking and they were having big festivals. No, they were so absorbed looking at Krishna holding a Govardhana hill that they forgot everything. They forgot to eat, they forgot to drink, they forgot to take a rest. They were just mesmerized looking at Krishna's beauty. And amazingly enough, Krishna was not making any effort. He was there in his three banga, in his folded in three places, very graciously standing with his leg crossed one over the other, standing mostly on his left foot, and holding Govardhan Hill with a little finger without any effort. And he was smiling all the time. So the devotees, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they were totally conquered intoxicated by Krishna's beauty. Yes, they were coward men. We thought, hey, our boy cannot do this alone. We have to help him. And they were holding their canes and thinking that they were actually helping Krishna to hold Govardhan Hill. So the fact is that they were so intoxicated by watching Krishna's beauty and that they totally forgot everything for 7 days. And this is a particular pastime. It's one of two pastimes, and the most important pastime where Krishna brings all the inhabitants of Vrindavan together in loving exchange with him. So he was doing eye exchange in these different rasas with the different inhabitants of Vrindavan. He was doing eye contact with them, with the gopis, with the coward boys, with the parents, his servants, with everyone, with the cows. He was just exchanging with them through his glances. And they were totally forgetful that they need to eat, they need to drink, they need to sleep. It's like sometimes people feel so addicted to things like young people, not just young people. People get addicted to computer games and other media stuff, and they completely forget to eat. And sometimes there are people who even die in front of their computers of exhaustion. But even though the inhabitants of Vrindavan for 7 days and 7 nights, they didn't eat, they didn't drink, they did not starve. They didn't become skinny because of not eating for 7 days and 7 nights. Nanda Maharaj and the coward boys are chubby. They are not skinny, man. So this Govardhana Lila, this particular pastime happened on the third day of the bright half of Kartika. And the third day after, bright half means it's just after the last Ekadashi, go into new moon. So then Indra became, the rain was going on, and then on the 9th day, the inhabitants of Vrindavan all came out of the hills. So it means it was 7 days after the beginning of the inundation, the torrential rain by Indra. And they came out. Krishna told them to come out, to go out of the Govardhan, go back home. And they were so excited. They were so happy. What they have seen. They were amazed. They were embracing Krishna. They were embracing each other. They were congratulating Krishna and each other. How miraculous. They were safe from this devastation. Nobody thought that something was wrong. But on the next day, when they woke up, they felt a strange feeling. Wow, that was too much. Before that, Krishna had been doing so many wonderful pastimes, and nobody thought there was anything strange. Every time the pastimes were short, and they would say, oh, Narayana did, there was some killing of demons. They said, Narayana protect him, Vishnu protect him. So Krishna did many miracles, but nobody really noticed much about those miracles, those incredible pastimes. Nobody thought anything was strange. They had three, as we see in the purport of today, they had three rational explanations about Krishna's miracles, Krishna's wonderful activities, feats, you know. The first explanation is that, wow, actually our Nanda Maharaj is such a great soul, and because of that, and because of his devotion, Lord Narayana always protects his son. If somebody is very pious, you know, by the power of his piety, then the Lord protects him. So if you follow Dharma, if you follow the religious principles, then naturally we are protected. So Krishna is protected because of Nanda Maharaj piety and devotion to Lord Narayana. The second explanation is a little more important. They say, well, our Brahmanas are so good, so powerful. They always perform very, very, very nice yagas, and through that yagas, they protect our piety. So they are inhabitants of Vrindavan, as we said, they are very simple-hearted, and they believe their Brahmanas are very powerful, and then they can protect, because of these yagas, they can protect them from all dangers. So they have this firm faith in the Brahmanas. They are very proud of their Brahmanas. And the third explanation is that Krishna must be very lucky. He has a very good karma. He's not a real ordinary child. You know, he's very special. He has very good karma, good pious credits. And that's why he's so lucky that he always, you know, he does things and he's always protected. So for 7 years, because this was on his 7th year, discovered on the hill, 7, 8 years, they were using this reasoning to explain whatever Krishna had done, which was uncommon for a child to do. But now, for 7 days, they saw him. They all saw him holding Govardhan Hill in one hand. And this for them was really, really very strange. They would probably be more happier than if Krishna sometimes moved Govardhan Hill from one hand and then moves to the other hand and takes a little rest, or moves from his little finger to the thumb, the little finger to the thumb, you know. And but he was holding Govardhan Hill with his little finger left hand without moving, and he was feeling so blissful. So when these 7 days were going, they did not think about it because they were intoxicated by Krishna's beauty. They didn't have time to think about this because they were mesmerized. They were bewildered by Krishna's beauty. But now that all this had finished, the next day they said this is too much. Because Govardhan Hill now is a small hill, and we call it a hill actually. But actually is Girivara. Girivara means is the best of the mountains, is the highest mountain, even highest than Himalayas. The Everest mountain is more than 8 kilometers, was more than 8 kilometers high at that time. Now it's been sinking on the ground, is another story. But now it's just a small hill. Some places are really very low. Some places are already sunk down on the ground. We don't see. But at that time, it was really a huge mountain. It was not just a small hill. Even that was amazing. But it was the hugest mountain that existed. So at that time, they saw something strange. They didn't saw that when he was holding Govardhan Hill, he didn't say it was strange because they were totally covered by Yoga Maya. But because they were with Krishna, they were seeing his beauty. But then when they were separated from Krishna, when they went to their homes, then their feelings of Aishwarya, feelings of Krishna's majesty, Krishna's potency, it became more manifest in their hearts. So that's when they decided to go to the house of of Nanda Maharaj, to find out, because they start thinking about all the other pastimes that Krishna had performed, and this. Initially, for 7 years they had been using those 3 reasonings, But now, thinking back, after Krishna having holding Govardhana hill, now they think that this could not happen. No, they start describing all those pastimes that happened before. How Krishna, in the beginning was he killed Putana. They said some commentator said he was only 6 days old. He could not even properly open his eyes, would open and close like a small baby's always closed eyes. And the baby Krishna killed this huge demon. And now, as they are thinking about these pastimes that happened from the very beginning, they think maybe Krishna is God. And then there was Shakatasura. The demon was manifest in the form of the cart. It was a huge cart, and Krishna's bed was under the cart to protect him. And Krishna at that time, he was so young, he could not yet move himself from one side to another, as to be helped by the mother or the maid servants to move. But here in this pastime, for the first time, Krishna turned to the other side without help. And as he turned to the other side, he touched this cart, and the cart broke, and this demon came out. Amazing. Now, again, they are thinking, this is amazing. This cannot be done by ordinary person. And then they remember Trinavarta. The big whirlwind, moved up on Krishna, and Krishna killed him. And then they thought about how Krishna was because of his naughtiness of stealing butter, was bound by Mother Yashoda, and then Krishna, with a grinding mortar, he pulled in between the Arjuna trees and liberated the 2 sons of Kuvera. They thought about Pralambasura, that was killed by Balarama, but was facilitated by Krishna. How Krishna danced on the heads of Kaliya, this huge poisonous snake with so many hoods. So they were thinking about all these pastimes now in relationship to what they had seen now with Govardhana Lila, and they were thinking, this is not unique. This is not something that a common child can do. He must be the Supreme Lord. So that's why they came to Nanda Maharaj to explain those doubts that we read in a verse, and the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commented on this purport. So when Nanda Maharaj heard their doubts that perhaps Krishna is the Supreme Lord, so Nanda Maharaj starts smiling, because there is a saying that those who are the coward men, they never become adults until the age of 80. They are so simple-hearted. They always like children. So that's why Nanda Maharaj starts smiling to them. Actually, the most important doubt they had, and this is explained by our child, the most important doubt they had is that they love Krishna. They express that they love Krishna more than themselves. They love Krishna more than their own children, and even themselves. So they were saying that they love Krishna. They love Krishna because Krishna must be the Supreme Lord, because they love Krishna more than their own selves. The most dear object of our life is our own self, means the Atma, the soul. But the super soul is the soul of our souls, is very dear, but is more dear than the soul. So the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they came to Nanda Maharaj and they were explaining how strange they love Krishna, and they were ready to sacrifice their life for him. If something would go wrong, they were always ready, you know, to protect Krishna, but they could not explain the cause of their love. He said, he must be God. Otherwise, how can we love him so much? That's why we love him so much. That's why we think he's our child, that we love him more than our children. He must be the soul of our souls, must be the Supreme Lord. Nanda Maharaj smiled and said, you are just like, just simple, childish, coward man, you know. You are always associate with the cow, so your brains are full of cow dung. He was just joking with them. How can you say that Krishna is the Supreme Lord? He cannot be the Supreme Lord. How the Supreme Lord tell lies? How the Supreme Lord break pots and steal butter? The Supreme Lord is known as to be Atmaram, self-satisfied, but he's hungry, and he becomes angry if you don't feed him. See, my child, our child, is always angry. He's always angry. He starts breaking, sometimes he's angry, he starts breaking something, he starts crying if you don't feed him. How many times I have to feed him? Usually children, we can feed him 4 or 5 times, but I have to feed him at least 10 times a day. You know, every time he sees me, he says, Baba, give me some sweets. How can he be the Supreme Lord? The Lord is self-satisfied, but our Krishna is never satisfied. Always wants more and more. And then he started explaining how Garga Muni at the time of the birth, at the time of the name-giving ceremony, he came and he said, your son is really great and he's almost like Narayana. He started repeating the verses. Nanda Maharaj started repeating to them what Garga Muni had said, because that ceremony was performed in a cowshed with only the close family members, because they were afraid of Kamsa knowing that Krishna was already born. So it was done in a very intimate way. So most of these coward men have not attended that ceremony. So he was repeating now to them what Garga Muni had told him at that time of the name-giving ceremony. He said, your son will be like this, your son will be appear in different ages, sometimes white, sometimes yellow, sometimes red, sometimes black. But Nanda Maharaj is telling this to the Brajabasis, and he said, but Krishna is our son, huh? Krishna is our child. But he said, but Krishna, Garga Muni actually, basically, Garga Muni said that Krishna is Narayana himself. But Nanda Maharaj never could understand in that way. He gave always his interpretation. He has his own purport. And he said to the coward man, he didn't say that Garga Muni said Krishna is Narayana himself. He said no. He said that a little particle of Narayana has entered my son. He is there with my son, with our Krishna. That's why when these miracles are performed, these incredible things are performed, it's actually that little particle of Narayana that is within him. That's what makes these miracles. It's not Krishna, you know. It's that little particle of Narayana that is within him. No, Krishna is our son. Is our son. He's nobody else. So he was actually interpreting the words of Garga Muni. So he wanted to them understand that Krishna is my son, Krishna is ours. So when the inhabitants, when the Brajabasis heard this, they felt very pacified, very relieved. Oh, thanks God, thank you God that Krishna is not God. We feel so good. Because they actually came to Nanda Maharaj to dissipate their strange doubts they had about Krishna, that perhaps Krishna was God, and Nanda Maharaj was saying it's just a particular, a little particle of God that is acting through Krishna. They became bad. Well, thanks God is not God. So that's the conclusion. And then later on, Krishna came to the assembly where Nanda Maharaj and the coward men were there. And immediately the separation was forgotten, because now they were in the presence of Krishna. It's so sweet, it's so beautiful. They start giving him sweets, embracing him, they give him toys because he was only 7 years old, start pampering, you know. Again, the sweetness, Madhurya, became manifested in their hearts. So the Aishwarya was totally dissipated. So this is the way. So Krishna, he wanted them to taste that sweetness, and he wanted to taste the sweetness of the love of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. That's why he showed them these different pastimes, and most particularly shows him his wonderful features, you know, his wonderful, incredible beauty. So Krishna had tested the Brajabasi's sweetness, and then after that, he showed the pastime of Varuna Deva that happened on the 10th day, the day after, and the day after, the followers of Varuna Deva dragged Nanda Maharaj from the Yamuna to the Varuna Loka, because they said that he was taking bath in a moment that was not supposed to taking bath. In a timing period was not proper. So they drag him to Varuna. So, and Krishna came also after Govardhana Lila. He came also to Varuna Loka at that time. And Nanda Maharaj, now, you know, he was seeing Varuna had put Krishna on the throne, and he was worshipping Krishna. And then now he became, Nanda Maharaj, you know, came out of, you know, eventually came out of the Varuna Loka, and he was thinking about what inhabitants, the Brajabasis, have said about Krishna being the Supreme Lord. So he starts saying, maybe he is the Supreme Lord. Maybe he is the Supreme Lord. After having seen Varuna Deva, who is a great demigod, worshipping Krishna, and Nanda Maharaj starting to have his own doubts also. Maybe he's the Supreme Lord. So and he told the inhabitants of Vrindavan, tell the Brajabasis, we said, yeah, Krishna is actually, I said he's a little part of the Supreme Lord, but now I think after what I have seen, I think that he is really the Supreme Lord. So the inhabitants of Vrindavan said, oh, okay. So they went to Krishna and said, now we know that you are the Supreme Lord. So perhaps you can tell us how we can achieve liberation. So Krishna showed them first Goloka, and then he showed them Vaikunta, the impersonal Brahman, showed them everything right there. And then he showed them Vrindavan, the place where they are living in the forest. And then when they saw Vrindavan, they said, wow, Now we have understood everything. Now that we came to Vrindavan, we have understood everything. So they were not impressed by seeing the Brahman, impersonal Brahman manifestation of the Lord. They were not impressed to see Vaikuntha. They were not even feeling at ease. But when they saw Vrindavan, they felt, oh, this is our ultimate destination. So they felt great relief. Oh, Krishna is very good. And we know he's the Supreme Lord, but we also know that he's our best friend, he's our best well-wisher, he's our beloved child, and he will remain always like that. So they know. It's not that the inhabitants of Vrindavan do not know that Krishna is God, the Supreme Lord. They know, but because of Krishna's sweetness, they become more attracted to those features, his Madhurya feature, and they forget his Aishwarya. So sometimes they know he's the Supreme Lord. Sometimes in certain occasions they understand, that understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Lord comes to their minds. But that knowledge does not really break their relationship with Krishna, as they always see Krishna as their beloved son, their beloved friend, their beloved master, their beloved lover, paramour. So despite that knowledge that they have sometimes of Krishna's Aishwarya, they still maintain this understanding. He's our son, he's our friend, is all in all for us, is our most beloved child. So we also, in the same way as Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but at the same time, we should understand that he is very close to us and he wants us to become close to him. So this is Madhurya Jnana, it's knowledge of Madhurya. We have Aishwarya Jnana, we have knowledge of Krishna's opulences, how he is great, how he is the creator and maintainer of everything and all his opulences. We have this knowledge from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but we also have from the 10th canto particularly, and not only the 10th canto, even throughout the other 9 cantos before, we have also knowledge of this Madhurya Jnana. Means knowledge of Krishna's sweetness, most particularly in the 10th canto in the pastimes, with Krishna in his original form. And this knowledge is the most important. Srila Prabhupada taught us how to worship Krishna in awe and reverence, and see him in his opulence mood of Vaikuntha. But at the same time, he taught us that we can all have, if we follow the footsteps of inhabitants of Vrindavan, we can also develop a very intimate, loving relationship with him. And this is the purpose of chanting the holy names. So, oh Krishna, oh Radha, please always engage us in your service. When you hear the prayers of Tulasi Devi, when you perform Tulasi Puja and read the prayers, these prayers are really begging Tulasi Devi to allow us to enter in this beautiful, wonderful pastimes of Radha and Krishna, in these pastimes in Vrindavan. So this knowledge of the sweetness of Krishna is what is the most important aspect in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's what we should cultivate. It means externally we should practice knowing that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but internally, gradually, by remembering these very beautiful pastimes of Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam, we may develop an attraction for the sweetness of Krishna. So in the chanting of the holy names, in reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we should see Shukadeva Goswami in these pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, in the 10th canto. He goes to so much details. We wonder why he goes to so much details, because in a few days, Parikshit Maharaj is going to leave his body. Why not go just to the main topics, to finish the whole description? But no, it spends his time, takes his time to really explain many details in the pastimes, because these details help us very much to develop a mood of meditation on Krishna's pastimes. They're very useful, very powerful. So we have to develop this mood of mamata, that Krishna is mine, Krishna is ours, and we belong to him. You know, we belong to Krishna. We don't belong in Vaikuntha. We don't belong with Mahavishnu. We belong to Krishna. We have a loving relationship with Krishna. So if we cultivate this mood inside our hearts, that we want to eventually have this very intimate, loving relationship with Krishna, then our chanting of the Maha Mantra will become successful. And yes, either in this lifetime or next lifetime or in many thousand lifetimes, eventually we are going to reach a loving, intimate association with Krishna, because it's Krishna desire. And this is the process that our Acharyas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and our Acharyas and our Srila Prabhupada has given us, is the process to achieve Krishna, to achieve this loving relationship with the most sweet features of the most beautiful, the most incredible, the most wonderful Krishna. So we stop here. I don't know if we have time for questions. I don't know. It's up to you. You could go maybe for until 9:30. So I have 15 minutes of questions. So sorry, we didn't mention much about the pastime of Govardhan, as I said, not details. So you can go through the 24th and 25th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and you can hear all those pastimes, and most of the comments are given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. Srila Prabhupada did not translate that section of Srimad Bhagavatam, so his purpose are not there, but you can hear his explanations on the Krishna book. Srila Prabhupada mentioned also many details of this beautiful pastime, so you can read with the devotees together. It's very beautiful description. This was mainly to makes us appreciate how Krishna is so wonderful, and how the coward man became really very amazed by realizing that sweet person, sweet boy that they were loving, it was actually the Supreme Lord, but they didn't care much. They were happy to have a very intimate, very close relationship with him, and Krishna was very happy to have that intimate, loving relationship with them. And this is the sum substance, is the topmost achievement in life. Prema Pumartu Maham. Krishna Prema. Okay. If you have any question, you can, okay, so some questions are there. Some, can you translate Shyamalila? I don't know if there are questions.
Hare Krishna, Ashu, I didn't
yes,
any questions.
There are questions, and they are not questions, no?
Not yet.
Not yet. So we wait a little bit. We can go until 9:30. I think is okay.
老师说我们等10几分钟，一直到9点半，留一些时间给大家提问。
I hope it was not too fast for you, Shyamalila. You have the notes, and I was following more or less the notes. So I hope it was okay.
Yes, Ashu, it's okay.
You are fast. Yeah, you are fast. So good. So I
Haribol Ashu.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol Ashu. I'm Lakshmana.
Lakshmana, Hare Krishna. Wow, what a surprise.
阿叔的课今天讲的特别好，特别好，很喜欢。然后有一个问题，就是我昨天在看这个故事里面的细节，然后呢 Krishna 不是指导这个 Nanda Maharaj 他们如何做这个 Govardhan Puja 的崇拜，他是说呢，是先要招待那些婆罗门 然后呢，先就是给所有人就好吃的，然后要给牛喂青草，鲜嫩的青草，然后才是做那个锅巴丹的一个崇拜。但是我就有点疑惑，我就想，不是应该先做这个锅巴丹的崇拜，然后把就是这个供奉的这个所有的贡品，然后再去派发给所有人吗？所以我就觉得有点疑惑，想问一下阿叔。
Okay. Shamalila, do you mind translate?
Sure. Lakshmana Mataji said, "Thank you for the wonderful narration. I read some details about Govardhan Lila, and I read how Krishna guided Vrindavan, the residents of Vrindavan, to do Govardhan Puja. They started by treating the brahmanas nicely and distributing food to the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and then feed the cows with grass, and then they offered Govardhan Puja. I thought it should be the reversed order. Should offer Govardhan Puja first, then distribute Pushadam to brahmanas and cows and other residents.
We do in our temples, we do Govardhan Puja, Govardhan circumambulation, and then you go back to the temple and you have the feast. We have the hill in the temple, and you circumambulate that hill also, and then after that we have the feast. So it means that the offering is done first, and the offering is the Govardhan hill that everybody circumambulate, and then the feast is distributed.
在我们的社团的各个庙宇里面是这样的，我们在庙里面堆了这个勾尔丹山，然后所有人绕拜了勾尔丹山，这是供奉了，就是这个供奉就完成了。供奉完之后，然后是大餐，派发大餐。
So the offering is the hill we make. That's the offering.
所以我们供奉的就是这个，供奉的就是这个勾尔丹山。
So we circumambulate first while chanting, and as some devotee offer artik before the circumambulation. Devotee offer artik to a picture of Krishna on the top of Govardhan hill. Offer artik, and then everybody's circumambulate with a kirtan, and then in the end there's distribution of prasada, mostly prasada from the Govardhan hill.
这个程序是这样的，就是先是有奉献者来向我们造的这个格布丹山供奉耳体，然后奉献者们唱诵着 kirtan 绕拜格布丹山，之后是派发大餐。
Do you think this addresses our questions? Shamalila.
Lakshmana Mataji.
Does this satisfy our questions, or we add some detail that I missed?
Lakshmana Mataji said that is the way we do, but I heard in Govardhan Lila pastime, the way Krishna guided the Vrindavan residents to do the Govardhan Puja is they distributed food first.
And then they do circumambulation.
And they offered Govardhan Puja later.
Yes, they do that, yeah. Yeah, but it's not the problem, because they did the offerings after, no? The offerings were done after the circumambulation. I don't remember. But the way we have done in our temples, because the prasada, the offering is the hill itself. We offer the hill, no? So the hill is made, the devotees should not see, and is offered to the Lord. And then after the offering, it's opening to the devotees, and the pujari offers puja, and then we do circumambulation of the hill, because the hill we have is the hill made of prasadam. So that's the way Srila Prabhupada taught us to do. So usually the devotees who are in Vrindavan, they go early to do Govardhana Puja, and then they go back to the temple to attend the other ceremonies where there is the Govardhana Puja and then the offering of the hill of food, and then circumambulate that hill and take prasada. So we do like that usually that's traditionally how we have been doing.
我们的传统是Srila Prabhupada教我们的一个程序，就是我们先用食物造山，那么在这个造山的过程当中，就是其他的奉献者是先是不看的，除了造山的奉献者，造完山之后呢，会供奉，然后会做 arti 之后呢，先是供奉，然后做 arti 之后奉献者们唱诵做 arti， 在文大文也是这样的程序。
Somebody is raising the hand. Sunny.
Okay, Ashu Mataji, I have a question. Why won't he stop talk? Don't start talking. They have many talk.
So what's the question? I don't understand very well.
When Krishna was smaller, he started talking.
Krishna started, yeah, because Krishna can talk. You are also small and you can talk. Krishna could talk already when he was 2 years old. He could talk even before. He could talk. Yes. Shamalila.
小朋友问阿叔说，为什么 Krishna 那么小，可是他为什么那么说那么多话呢？然后阿叔说，就像那小孩子他也会说，就像你也会说话，所以 Krishna 也会说。
When children learn how to speak, they like to speak all the time because it's a new thing for them.
孩子一开始学说话的时候，他们就很爱说，就会很爱说，因为这是对他们来说是一件新鲜的事儿。
Small children like to talk. Huh? You like to talk. Gopi likes to talk. Everybody likes to talk. All the children like to talk all the time.
小孩子都喜欢喋喋不休，你也喜欢说话 ，Gopi 也喜欢说话，小孩子都喜欢讲话。
Gopi has a question also.
Hare Krishna, Ashu.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Gopi.
My question is, does Govardhan's hill is on Earth or is on the other star?
The what?
Does Govardhan's hill is on the Earth
on this planet? Yes, on this planet. Govardhan Hill is on this planet. Yes, you can visit. Shamalila.
Okay.
Ashu, I translated already.
Just translate in Chinese. Govardhan is asking if the Govardhan Hill is on this planet, and I said yes.
Gopi 问说，狗不丹山在这个地球上吗？还是在别的星球？别的星球？就说就在这个地球上，我们也是看得到的。
Yeah, you can visit. It's becoming smaller, but you can still see.
比以前小了、矮了，但是还是看得到的。
Is a very beautiful place.
而且特别美的一个地方，狗人山
wonderful place.
非常非常美妙的一个地方。
Because that's what Krishna performs most of his pastimes.
因为Krishna 在大部分的逍遥时光就是在狗尔丹山上上演的。
There's a question by Ratnavali in English. You can check.
Ratnavali Mataji 说
My takeaway is to meditate on mamata for Krishna and his devotees. Please enlighten. Is it possible to attain mamata for Krishna even in the neophyte stage of devotional service?
Ratnavali Mataji 说，我今天听课的一个收获就是我们要冥想妈妈塔刚解释了说，这个情怀或者说这个态度，这个情感就是 Krishna 是我的，我是 Krishna 的这样一种情感。那今天的这个课就是说，我们应该去冥想 Krishna 是我的，我是 Krishna 的。那我的问题是，我们是不是有没有可能在奉爱服务的初级阶段，也培养起对 Krishna 的这种拥有感 ？Mamata Krishna 是我的，我是 Krishna 的。
We can long for that. We can hanker for that.
我们可以有这样的渴望。
We can develop this longing in our hearts.
我们可以在内心培养起这种渴望。
But this can only be manifest at the stage of nistha, when we become very steady in our loving devotion and start manifesting the taste to serve the Lord.
但真的这种mamata的情怀情感真实的展示出来，那也得等到我们达到了 nishtha 稳定的培养起了对 Krishna 的稳定的奉爱之后，对奉爱服务有了真正的品味之后，才能真实的展示出这样的情感。
Means when most of the anarthas and unwanted things have been cleaned out from our hearts.
也就是说，当我们内心的所有的不洁已经被清除之后。
But this is fully manifest at the stage of bhava and prema, this mamata.
这种mamata Krishna 是我的这种情感，是完全的展示出来，是在bhava的阶段。
But now we can cultivate this anchoring by, develop that desire in our hearts to one day be able to develop this feeling.
现在我们能做的是，可以在内心培养这样的渴望，这样的愿望。希望有朝一日我们也能够培养起这样的 mamata 的感受，对 Krishna 的拥有感。
This longing is what makes our practice prevents our sadhana, our practice to become mechanical, is by longing, by desiring to eventually develop this mood of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada encourages us to.
Actually, you said in this stage, or
in our stage now, we can only develop a longing and anchoring, and this anchoring and longing is what prevents our sadhana to become mechanical.
在我们这个阶段，我们能够做到的是去培养这种渴望、愿望。有了这个渴望和愿望，我们的sadhana就不至于变得机械。
So yes, we can have this, but we wait until our hearts become purified and we start developing a taste for our devotional practices.
可以有这样的愿望，要培养起对 Krishna 这种拥有感这样的情感，那要等到我们内心的不洁被清除，我们培养起了品味，才会展示出这样的情感。Ashu, could you please Could you please check Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 24, verse number 28? That was the verse Lakshmana Mataji was referring to.
10:23.
And 10, 24, 28, the translation of that verse.
Okay.
Lakshmana Mataji 刚刚问的问题就是圣地摩教坛第10篇24章28诗节，说到 Krishna 指导文达们的居民做 Govardhan Puja 的这个程序是这样的。他说，译文要将合适的食物给予每一个人，包括狗和吃狗肉的人那种堕落灵魂。接着，你们该给乳牛喂青草，然后将满怀敬意的供奉献给 Govardhan 山。
Okay, you tell me again. I open my database.
10, 24, 28.
10, 24, 28. Worshipping Govardhan here. Okay.
Yes.
After giving the appropriate food to everyone else, including such as fallen souls and dogs and dog eaters, you should give grass to the cows and then present your respectable offerings to Govardhan Hill. Is this one?
Yes. So she's asking why offering Govardhan Puja is the last.
Yeah, this is what Krishna told to inhabitants of Vrindavan. I think in our temple in Vrindavan we do this. There is distribution of food and even to the animals. There is distribution of food, and the cows come also around the temple. They give grass. I think they do these things, and then they start the offerings to the puja to Govardhan. I think they do that, but I don't think you can do this in Shanghai.
安旭说了，这个是Krishna 教导稳达们的居民这么做的。现在在稳达们，他们也应该是这么做。先是派发食物给每个人，给那些这里说到的各种堕落的人，或者然后乳牛它也会来到庙里，所以会。奉献人们会给乳牛喂青草，之后做这个Govardhan Puja供奉。但是我想在上海可能不能这么做了。
是的，阿叔阿叔，我也有个想，就是说看前面还有个27世节，我想是不是指应该很好的招待好婆罗门，然后燃起正确的这个祭祀之火，让所有的这个牛心满意足，然后等于所有的准备工作都做好，然后去供奉那个Govardhan的Puja。我不知道是不是这样去理解。
27，
还是24章对吗
？27
是吗？Lakshmana Mataji第10篇24章。
对，27世节要旨里面，Krishna 做的解释，我就想确认一下，是不是这样理解
？In the purport of Canto 10, Chapter 24, verse number 27, Krishna explained that first you have to treat brahmanas nicely. You have to get the fire yagya ready. Once, so she wants to confirm, do we have to get everything ready before we do Govardhan Puja? Means we have to treat brahmanas nicely and prepare the fire yagya.
No, we don't. We don't do all these things. We don't prepare fire yagya.
这些我们不这么做，我们不用准备祭火。
But certainly, yes, we respect not just the Brahmanas, we respect all living entities, but certainly we respect those devotees who are more advanced. Yes, we should offer respect. And there's also an opportunity to offer them gifts. And if we can offer them cows, is also good.
但第一点是应该的，就是说要尊重接待好婆罗门。我们不光是要尊重婆 婆罗门，我们尊重所有人，尤其是那些精进的外师那么奉献者们。甚至这个时候也是一个很好的机会，给他们送礼物。尤其是如果能够给他们送母牛，那就更好了。
But this was that particular time. In many places in the holy dhams, particularly in Vrindavan, they still do these things. They still do these things. They perform sacrifice and they feed the brahmanas, and they offer them gifts and they offer them cows. But it's less and less because the Vaishyas are not as opulent as they used to be in those days.
这个诗节当中说到的这个传统，还是在很多圣地，包括本达本还在进行的。他们会做祭祀，然后会给婆罗门礼物，给他们母牛礼物等等。但是现在越来越少了，因为歪夏们没有以前的那么富裕了。
Okay. Thank you, Ashu.
Okay. So have a nice Govardhan. Make a nice Govardhana hill.
Yes.
You cannot make 8 kilometers. You cannot make 800 meters. You cannot make 80 meters. Maybe you cannot make 8 meters. At least make 80 centimeters high.
没法做8公里高，至少可以做8米高，做不了8米高，至少做8厘米高。
At least 80 centimeters. 80.
至少做8厘米高的狗本山。
Wow, that's already almost 1 meter. So better start. Cook lots of rice.
可以做大量的米饭。
Okay, we stop here. There's no more questions.
那好，今天我们就讲到这里了。
So thank you very much for being there.
非常感谢大家参加
So
今天的
have a nice celebration of Govardhan Puja and Govardhan Leela. And if you have opportunity, please read from the past time. It's really very sweet.
预祝大家今天 Govardhan Puja 庆祝愉快，大家好好的庆祝这个节日。有时间的话，希望大家一定读一下Govardhan 小时光法坛当中讲到的这一部分，非常的甜美。
We offer our gratitude to Shyamalila to have to run to be able to translate simultaneously.
感谢Shyamalila 的翻译。Thank you, Ashu, for the wonderful lecture.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari.